as EDC, we're really involved in growing the community, growing the business here, and then working on workforce development as well as education. And so, really highlighting the pathways for the people in this community to find their careers. And so, excited to have you here, and excited that you are, the light at the end of the tunnel. You are the example of what can be achieved. And just want to talk about, a little bit about growing up in Elsa and how that kind of shaped your career.
Yeah, well, we're migrant farm workers, so we were traveling all over the place, and we traveled all year round. So 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months there. But Elsa was always our home. Elsa was my grandmother's. We ended up getting my grandmother's, my mom's house in Elsa. And so we would always come back to that. And then by the time I reached about 16 and a half, we started traveling all the way around. And so I could go to school all year round. And my mom started working in the cafeteria in Ed Couch. Um, and so Elsa is what I consider my home. Right, grew up here and always came back here. Um, the 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 most beautiful thing about that is that your home is where your heart is. Right, all your people are there. My brother lives across the street. My other brother lives just outside the town. My all my nieces and nephews are not all of them, but most of them are in Elsa. And so it's my home. It's the place where I'm from. It's the place where I developed who it is that I am. I didn't learn how to act here at home, but I learned how to be a human being. I learned about respect. I learned about family values. I learned about morals. I learned about all of those kinds of things. My mom and dad taught me that. My brothers and sisters taught me that. This community that I grew up in taught me that. And back then, between 1965 and 1980, when I was growing up, those are my formative years, right? And it was a beautiful place then. It's a beautiful place now. It was a little slower then. It was before the internet, and so that always speed things up. Um, so it was much easier to grow up. Everybody took care of you. Everybody knew you. If you were out on the street doing something bad, they're like, "I'm gonna tell your mom. You better go home right now." Over that. So everybody took care of you, and this feeling of safety is just so powerful, right? It gives you the opportunity to then dream and try and become what you can become. Without that stable base underneath, it's extremely hard. And so that's one of the things that I'm very, very thankful for Elsa and for this whole community, this whole society that's down here. Um, the other thing is that it's a very lively society. There's always we got parties every single weekend because there's so many of us. It's somebody's birthday every single weekend. The la pachanga, the cookout, all this that kind of stuff. That's really actually one of the things that you miss when you move away, because you go away to a big town and all your family's down here, or not, and you get homesick. You really do get homesick. And as far as going out and trying to create your own life, that's one of the things sometimes that kind of holds you back. Your own heart, right? Because you're longing for that love that you left behind. But the journey itself, there's some people that are going to leave and there's some people that are going to stay. That's just how it is. Some people say, I need more than here, or perhaps what I want to do, I can't really do here. And back in 87, when I left, I couldn't act down here and get paid for it. So I had to go somewhere else, right? Um, the first thing I always tell young students, young filmmakers, young artists, the first thing it takes is courage. You have to have the courage to tell yourself, this is what I want for my life. This is what I want. And these are the things I need to do for it. And sometimes it's moving away from home. It doesn't mean you're going to lose your people. You're going to stop loving them. You come back as much as you can. Unfortunately, your life is going to be somewhere else. That's the way fate wrote it out for you, ¿verdad? And so I had to leave. I had to leave. But I come back, and I've come back every single one of those years. I've come back, and now as of recently, I've been back. Last year I was down here 7 times.
So the story you're saying right now reminds me a lot about entrepreneurship, right? And so at the end of the day, you're your own business.
At the end of the day, and it's scary. Doing your own business is scary. So a lot of people ask me, did you always know you want to be an actor? And I tell them, you know what? I don't remember the first thing I wanted to be, but I do remember the first thing I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be poor the way I grew up. But migrant farm workers, you're poor. There are no rich migrant farm workers, brother. And so, in making that decision, there's a lot of things involved. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. I'm the first one in my family to graduate high school, unfortunately. But that's because my older brothers and sisters were all farm workers, and when you're in the field, you're in the field. It's very hard to break that and move to something new, like going to school, especially when you're only spending 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. And so the idea that when I decided to become an actor, I knew a couple of things from friends and from teachers. Uh, they would say, actors don't get rich. Actors don't make a lot of money. And when you make a lot of money, you put it in the bank and you save it. You don't go out and spend your lot of money. And so, and some really, really good teachers that kind of drove that into me over and over and over and over and over. So it's not only what you want to do artistically. It's like, let's say you want to be a tattoo artist. Not only do you have to be a good tattoo artist, but if you want to start a business, well, now what does that require?
Like a business.
Right? Now you're going to be a business owner. Okay, well, you need money for sure. You need money for everything, right? I need a space. Am I just going to be by myself? Do I need some other people to do other tattoos? ¿Verdad? This space, I need light there. I need gas there. I need somebody to pick up my trash there. I need to get my instruments from somewhere. I need this color, that. And so you also you got to have like two brains. Your artistic brain, where you become good at what you do, but then your business brain that arranges all the things that you need to do in order for you to do the tattoos. Right? And as an actor, as anybody, as any entrepreneur, you need to have those two brains. And yeah, it's scary. And what's really scary is if you're a tattoo guy, you've probably been doing that for 10, 15, 20 years. You might even been doing it at 14 years old when you were, growing up, all that kind of stuff. But how many times have you started a business? Probably never. And so because you've never ever done it, you sometimes put the brakes on or you hesitate. It's not a bad thing, because if you're a little scared of it, then you want to be prepared as much as you can. And so sometimes that's what motivates you to become really prepared, uber prepared, super prepared, so that you're sure nothing's going to go wrong. And if something does go wrong, you got it covered because you got another plan over here. So sometimes that's the stuff that gets in our way. We're really good at what we do, but it's this new, strange thing that we've never done that we're a little afraid of, and that gets in our way. But again, that comes back to the first thing I tell students. The first thing it takes is courage. You got to have the courage. It's your life. You got to have the courage to do the things that it is you want to do. And for some of us, it happens that we have the courage, but we've already acquired other commitments, like a relationship, like kids, like a wife, like an aging parent, like somebody I need to take care of. And no matter what, I'm going to take care of this person. So I'm going to put myself second to whatever these needs are to this individual. Well, those are the decisions we make in life, and that happens to everybody. It's what it is. But that still doesn't mean you can't do what you want to do. You just got to reformulate and figure it out. Figure it out. The first thing I wanted to, I tell people I didn't know what I want to be, but I want to be rich, right? So I went to college thinking I want to be a lawyer, right? Because they make a lot of money. I knew nothing about lawyering. All I knew is lawyers make money. So I want to be a lawyer. And the first class I took, I had done some acting in high school, and we'd done actually pretty good. Our one act play had gone to state with Kent Smither, amazing teacher, amazing. I had some amazing teachers in Elsa. And the first class I took was a theater class. And I went, wow, oh man, I really like this. I like really, really, I'm in love with it, right? And somebody said, well, a communication degree, which is what they offered then, they didn't offer an acting degree, communications. A communication degree is pre-law. And I went, oh, really? All right, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to study this. I'll get a communication degree, and then I'll go to law school. Halfway through that, I thought, I don't need to be a lawyer. I just need to be educated. I just need to have a degree. Because with a degree, I'm never going to be that kind of poor again. There's so many things I can do. I've grown past that world. So then by the time I graduated, I thought, okay, well, I can teach. I can teach it. There's other things I can do because I got technical training as well, in lighting and costumes and sets. So I thought I might as well go out into the real world and try it. This is what I've been training to do. Let's go to the real world and try it and see what happens. Even if I fail, I can then come home and I can tell my students, this is what the book says, but this is what I found out in person out there, right? I can give them both perspectives. Well, I was extremely, extremely fortunate when I first got to LA. And that was when I figured out, okay, I'm going to try to be a professional actor. When I first got to LA, I got 4 jobs as a marketer, a video store, as a carpenter, as a courier, just to pay bills, pay bills. And then I was there 4 months, and by January of '88, I had already gotten my first job, which was Salsa, the motion picture. I ended up working 8 weeks on that film. Uh, and so that's when I made that decision at about my junior or sophomore year that, okay, I'm going to see if I can do this for a living. At that point, it was just maybe I'll teach it or maybe I'll work behind the scenes. But by the time I got to my senior year in college, I thought, no, it's going to be acting. I'm going to try it. That's what I'm going to put all my energy into, acting. And then 4 months into LA, I got a job. And then once I got that first job, January of '88, that's all I've done. I've never had any other kind of job. I just acted. Now there's some lean times, some really lean times, and I'm eating ramen noodles a lot. Making food at home, making tuna at home, that sort of stuff. Este, but from salsa, I went that same year. I did salsa in January and February, and then in October, I landed my first TV gig, which was a sitcom, which was Golden Girls. I was on Golden Girls. I did an air conditioning repairman. And then from there, I found a theater company that I joined, and I was with them for 5 or 6 years. Did a ton of theater, a lot of theater, a lot of theater. At the same time, I was doing TV and film and TV and film. And then
And was salsa that first point where you're like, I can do this? This is
I
when would you have all that
I
confidence
pretty
behind
much knew I was solid in my job, right? I thought I can do this job. I'm not sure if the job that I can do is the job they want me to do, right? What if they ask me for something else and I can't do that, right? But you're right. At the end of salsa, I went, no, I could do it. I can definitely do it. There was still a little doubt. My very first professional job, right? And so there was, and 8 weeks, and it's like the fourth lead or something like that. But after salsa, I went, yeah, this I can do.
I think a lot of people face, they call it imposter syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or as an entrepreneur or as an actor, an artist, you kind of like maybe I don't have what it takes, or maybe this is not me.
Brother, even 35 years in, I still have a little bit of that, a little bit of this imposter syndrome. I don't know why. Maybe it's because where I come from, migrant farm worker, and somewhere in the back of my head, I still have that. But here's the other thing I learned, and this is specifically at acting. It's an acting lesson, really. Everybody gets nervous. Everybody gets nervous, no matter what. Tom Cruise gets nervous. Everybody gets nervous. The key is to take that energy, that nervous energy, and focus it to some kind of productive place. That's what you got to do. Focus it to a productive place. And even to this day, I try not to look back. I try not to look back because I still got something in the future for me, right? So I'm moving. But every once in a while, I'll sit and I'll think about it, and I'm like, wow, yeah. I was in this movie and that movie and that movie and that movie and that movie, and I was in this series and that series and that series. I'm like,
See how far you've come.
was that real me? Was that really? Even now, there's a doubt in my head. Is that still really me? Um, but I also think that thinking like that still means that you're still a little bit hungry for the future. There's still a little more for you to do, right? And you want to add to that. I want to add. I don't want to live on my past. I want to live in my future. Um, but how weird is that? I still have a little, do they know who I am? Why do they give me a job? Do they know who I am, right? Uh, it's crazy. It's crazy. I still pinch myself sometimes and say, is this really my life? Did I really get this far?
I think some of the things that you kind of mentioned remind me of entrepreneurship, and coming back to I think there's like a lot of similarities, obviously, in what you're doing. Um, we try to bring small business owners together and the community together, and try to have them realize that they're not alone.
Yeah.
The same doubts that you're talking about they have in their business,
Yeah.
like maybe I can do this, or maybe they're just nervous about
Yeah.
the steps, but the growth mindset helps them kind of move forward.
Well, that's one of the first things I tell people who are trying to move to a big town. I say one of the things you need to do is you need to find your people in that big town. Usually it's a theater lab or some other kind of acting class or something. People who are trying to do what you're trying to do. You want to get in with them, right? Because, like you're saying, we're all trying to move to a certain place, right? And one of the things that'll break you down is to think, I'm all by myself. Nobody's helping me and all that kind of stuff. When you get to one of these groups and you start meeting all these people, you see that all these other people have the same fears you do, right? And together you might be able to figure some things out to move yourself forward. Here's the other thing. Together you might also be able to lobby the city or the county or whomever else you need to lobby, because now there's not just one of you, there's 5 or 6 or 10 or 15, and 15 voices make a lot louder noise than one voice, right? Not that you need to make a noise, but you understand what I'm saying. You have issues. I need the street in front of my business paved because it's got a lot of potholes and all that kind of stuff, and there's 7 other businesses on this road. Well, 7 of us complaining makes more than just one person complaining, right?
Definitely.
And you don't have to complain. It doesn't have to be like that, right? It can be an all-inclusive, friendly, general way to get to our resolve. You don't have to be confrontational. People already know the street needs to be paved. The city people understand. They know exactly what streets need to be paved. It's just a matter of budget and time and all this other kind of stuff, right? But you're right. When you get together, a group like that, um, one, it gives you a little more energy because you see there are other people doing it. 2, somebody else might have already had the problem you're having, and you can talk to them about it. How did you resolve it? Well, this is what I did. Check it out. I didn't know this, but and Jose told me about this, right? And so you find answers to your problems as well.
Sidestep mistakes before you make them.
Exactly, exactly. Or maybe even get together. We're mentioning social media and all that kind of stuff. Maybe even get together and form a group of the business places where all of these businesses send their information to, hey, we're having a special event at this time, at this point. We're having a special blah, blah, blah over here and over there and over there. So there's a central place for somebody to get all the information that they need, right? More information going into this place, more people that come look at it, more people come look at it, more business goes your way, right? All different kinds of things. Maybe it's your very first business. You don't know any of this. All I know how to do is make quilts. That's all I know how to do. I have no idea about the business place. Well, these are the places, these are the people you need to talk to, the ones that have been doing it for a little while. Remember that? And in acting and probably in business as well, you become a successful individual. You see somebody else who's just starting out, who's totally true to what they do, totally on the up and up, really nice person, and they're going to maybe a little problem. I want to help them because I see myself in them. I remember what it was 10 years ago when I was just starting out, and it was hard. And all it required was somebody to tell me that one thing, hey man, did you hear about this program? Da, 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 da. Oh my God, that just saved my life. That just brought me $1,000 that I truly needed. And in business, something as small as paying your light bill could make you or break you, right?
Definitely.
And so, yeah, these kinds of organizations where you get together, the fact that the city is behind you as well and is trying to help you as much as they can, that as well, you know. And when you take steps forward, you look back a little bit and you go, okay, I did move. I did move for a little bit. And so it inspires you. It inspires you. And you want to work harder the next step.
Yeah. I think an interesting thing you said right now is the fact that you kind of go down this journey and then you look back and you kind of can't believe you came this far. In the same sense, how do you feel coming back into Elsa now? I think that Elsa's kind of in this growth phase where we're our own little success story, and we're growing, and there's a
It
lot of
is.
action here. So what do you, looking back between, the last, every time you come back,
Right.
what does that look like to you,
Well, it's
Elsa?
grown a bunch. A bunch. All that stuff north going to Delta Lake, all those developments over there, all of the development along 107, all those businesses, the new businesses, all the new schools being built, all of the stuff that's the or the houses that are towards Edinburgh, that are north of the 107, that weren't here back in 87, right? It's just grown crazy. Uh, the new high school, I didn't actually get to go to new. My year was the last year of the old high school, before they built they started going to the new one. uh this, you know just the internet and your page on the internet, that sort of stuff. este it's growing leaps and bounds. I mean, it's growing fast, really, really fast. And now people are saying, I'm from Elsa with pride. I'm from Elsa with pride. Rather than, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Elsa. Not even wanting to admit where you're from. That's kind of cool too. And if we look into our own history, there's lots of people that have come from Elsa and from Edcouch and gone through the Edcouch School District that have gone on to do great things. Um, um, yeah, just growing. Every single time I come down here, there's some new thing going on. New building, more houses being built.
Yeah. And I think the valley's just growing in general, and then Elsa is becoming like this hub in this rural community, and so you see. I mean, I've talked to colleagues who live in Westaco and they drive to Elsa to Walmart,
Right?
because it's.
Well, now we got two schools.
Mhm.
There's two schools. Are you kidding me? The idea over there by the Walmart, and then and a Walmart. That's huge. So yeah, it's just it's moving forward. I'm glad to see it.
Awesome. Well, we're working hard here
Yeah.
to attract business, to get more stuff in here. I think another thing I kind of want to focus on is like thinking back in the day when you were here and growing up. What are some of the like fondest memories? Like, what are some of the things that are still the same? Like, you come here and you remember back then, and it's just the feeling maybe, or the culture.
The feeling, the culture, the food, for sure. The food, the people, right? The Rio Grande Valley and Elsa specifically has people like you will not see in any other place. Very honest, very true, very unique. Te hablan así de volada. Y si no te quieren, if they don't like you, they don't like you, right? But you'll know it real quick, ¿verdad? Most of my growing up, I did outside. On my bicycle, going fishing in the canals, going to Delta Lake. I was there the day that the tragedy happened with the woman and the amoeba in the hand. I was there that day. I was in the water that day. I got all closed down. We're really big into fishing, so we'd go fish all of the canals and all this other kind of stuff. I'm nostalgic for those days, for the much, much simpler days. I think the internet, more than anything, pushed us into this new world, brand new world, uh, that that sometimes is not very good. It's a tool. It's a great tool, and if we can use it properly, it's invaluable. It really is invaluable. But sometimes we get stuck in the social media part of it, and that breaks us down as human beings, because we come at each other, we attack each other, and all this other kind of stuff that has nothing to do with being real. Because if you're not if you're doing it over a machine, you're not. I'm not talking to you one on one, and that's completely different. When we're talking one on one, we respect each other. When we don't talk one on one, we don't respect each other anymore on social media. That's terrible. That's terrible. It's one of the worst things that's ever happened to us. Uh, and that's what I miss. That idea of one on one respect. I know you, you know me, right? And when it's a small little town, you get a chance to see all those people face to face, face to face. And so you become nicer to each other. You respect each other, and you remember the love that you have in your heart for each other. So that's one of the things I miss. It's still here. It's still here in Elsa, and it's certainly here much more than in Los Angeles, right? So that's one of the things I miss. My family. I always miss my family. Always. The food, specifically, the food this here is nowhere else. Even when they call it fajitas somewhere else, it's not really fajitas. You know, it's not really fajitas. I get really pissed off. And so that part of it. Also, the idea that people know me and people down here know my people. They go, Valente, tú eres el hijo de John, ¿verdad? Sí. Y Susan, that's your mom? Sí, sí, fíjese. Sí. Y Mario, that's your uncle, ¿verdad? Sí, sí, señor. Mira, dile a Mario que, and they'll tell me this whole story, you know. And to have this sense, this idea that you existed before you even existed, that they knew your grandparents, they knew your great grandparents, they knew your family, they know who you are, right? That makes you feel like you're rooted somewhere. This is where I belong. This is my place. This is my home, right? My history's here from a long, long time ago. That you miss in Los Angeles. Sometimes in Los Angeles, you don't even know your neighbors. Your neighbors change every other week. You might not even live next to real neighbors. It might be, somebody bought it as an Airbnb and they just rent it out. So your neighbors aren't really ever there. The people that are there are just visiting from Minnesota or whatever, something like that, right? So you don't have that sense of belonging, that sense of clanship, that sense of this is where I'm from, this is my home. That's one of the things I miss. Yeah, it's definitely one of the people and the food and that sense of this is where I'm from.
I think coming into here and working with the small business community and having those meetups and things like that, I think you'd be happy to know that there's still a lot of that. Even the new people that come in, people embrace them.
Yeah.
I feel like we're building a very powerful small business community because, I mean, even just, step this way into McAllen or Edinburgh, it's a lot bigger and you kind of don't get that small town, connection. And here we have an event, we're going door to door, we're dropping off flyers, we're talking to the business owners. They come in, we give each other hugs. It still feels good. And then you pair that with the power of the internet, and I think we're kind of on this like really nice trajectory for small businesses here.
I know. I think you're right, and I think you're right about it being a central location. It is a really good location, and at the same time, if I'm in Hueslaco or some other place, let's say I'm in San Carlos, and I'm thinking, do I drive to McAllen? Do I drive to Edinburgh? Do I drive to Elsa? Elsa's a little closer, less crowded, for sure, than trying to get into McAllen. And then do I want to get on that freeway with all the construction that's going to take me forever, right? And then the schools are letting out at 3 p.m. Also, all these thoughts go in your head. So you go, sure, let's just go to Elsa. It's closer. It's less crowded. Look, we'll be there and back in an hour. If we go to McAllen, it's going to take us 3 hours, right? So all those considerations, yeah. No, I think you're right about it being centrally located and being a really, really nice hub.